What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. I'm back from my vacation. Scott, thank you for filling in. I listened to neither show. How were they?
I know you didn't listen to neither show because I was talking very poorly about you, and I think you would have come back and said something to me, but you haven't. So it was a test, and you failed, as I expected you to fail. No, why would you? Why would you listen back at the? You're supposed to take vacation. I told the people on Monday when we were talking, because that's what we do. We talk to the people who listen to us in their ear, that we've decided after 10 years that when we take vacation, we're actually just going to take a vacation, something to do. And I use the word vacation. I saw your face very loosely. Time away. When we take time away with our family, we're going to take time away from our family with a dedicated time. And it took us 10 years to figure that out, that, it's needed. It's needed. Kind of. It depends what that vacation is.
I was at Cape Cod for a week with my lovely family.
Yes.
I would have loved nothing more than to go into a room, close the door for an hour and a half, and talk to you guys. But that was not in the cards for me this past week with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old on vacation. Okay? So that is the real reason.
You had extended family there, right?
Yeah. What's your point? Oh, they could have helped? No, they're also in vacation mode, Scott. They
don't
want to watch two young
in-laws,
children.
are you kidding me? Yes, they are. They all parents, whether you're their in-laws or your parents, are they're always there. If they're there, they're there, and you need to utilize them. That's on you for not pushing that early on. Like this is one of those early relationship things where you got to set some standards and set some limitations, and like draw a line in the sand, and that's one of them. I feel like you could still do it. You can still do it.
No,
you got young kids. They're very. That's a very good carrot to dangle.
They're very helpful. It's just, it's a lot. You want to do things. You've got plans. One kid is still napping twice a day, so you've got to squeeze things in when both kids aren't napping, and it's just a whole big thing. The weather wasn't great, which just added a whole other element to the thing. This is a long way of saying yes. It was nice to take a mental break, although I don't feel very refreshed.
Yeah, I think that's something a sentiment that a lot of people in today's world would relate to.
Mm-hmm. And it was weird because we were at the game last Saturday against the Blue Jays. And then I was following the game on Sunday as we were traveling up to the Cape and just getting unpacked and everything. And then it felt like days went by and there was no game because Monday was an off day and there was a rain out. And then when there's a double header and I'm also trying to follow, I'm like, both games blend together and I'm like, wait, what game am I watching? What inning is it? Wasn't it already the 5th inning and now it's the 4th inning? What is happening here? Yeah. And that happened twice this past week. So that was also a little bit of a mind F as I was trying to follow things from afar. And
to their credit, the time between the double headers was short. Like they did roll right into that second game.
They were both single admission, right?
Yeah, and that's a huge difference when you split up the day for a doubleheader. You do a day-night doubleheader or single admission doubleheader. They're very different when you're from a viewer perspective at home because you're right, they blend in together. And damn, like not much time in between. They just kept going. I know O'Neill and Kay were kind of joking about this, but they were for that second game. They were hoping that Cole was going to start throwing in the bullpen in like the 9th inning to get ready for the first game, so they just go because they're just trying to get the hell out of there. But
sure.
But yeah, time in between was pretty tight. So kudos to them.
I like the single admission doubleheader. I feel like up until recently, the Yankees never did that. They would take every opportunity to get 2 gates, 2 concessions, everything.
Yeah, it does. It does change the finances when you're looking at what stadium operations are. But again, listening to the guys in the booth too, like Kay was talking about the fact, he'd sign up for those doubleheaders. You did. 81 double headers rather than 162 separate games. Give me that all day long. But double headers, they were part of the fabric of baseball for a long time when day games were the only thing that they did. So
there were scheduled double headers.
I think that's an interesting thing. That is something interesting that Major League Baseball should look at. Actually,
that was my idea. You don't remember this?
I don't remember it. But it's I'm not saying every single game, but more like some just actual scheduled double headers is interesting.
So maybe in addition to GM episode, we should do commissioner episode. If I were commissioner, here's how I would change baseball.
Any more episodes where we can be in control, I'm all for.
One of my ideas years ago was to shorten the season because the season starts in late March now. And it feels weird, like March 30th for there to be regular season baseball. A lot of times, especially if you're playing in the Northeast outdoors, the weather is just completely terrible. You could not reduce any games, but take out an entire week by doing, throughout the summer, scheduled Saturday single admission doubleheaders.
Yeah.
And you expand the rosters on those days, just like you normally would. So you're not like putting a roster issue on these teams. You get more minor leaguers, major league experience. So the players would like it because guys are getting called up and getting a professional game check for a day. Service time might be started sooner.
Yeah. I don't know if the players would like it. I think you'd see both. The veterans would not like it. The Veterans Committee would not be happy about it.
If you've signed a $180 million contract, maybe not, but I don't know.
Well, that's what would happen is that baseball would be leaning more on your depth almost if you had more of those scheduled. So yeah, it's interesting. I think it's adding another
seven of them
it's
every 2 weeks throughout the summer months. That's not that crazy.
7 games can be the difference between the playoffs and not the playoffs, Andrew. They can also be the difference between a divisional race. Okay? It's a big deal.
I guess so. But I think that would be an interesting idea, just to spice things up a little bit. And also, I don't know, March 29th regular season baseball just still rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah. And as the great John Sterling would always say, it's very difficult to sweep a doubleheader. So you're adding some element of parity in there. Balance.
Yeah, some balance. All right, well, let's talk about this Texas series, which obviously the doubleheader on Saturday, which the Yankees did not sweep, but they did win the series, unlike against the Angels, which I know you talked about, but that's just a pitiful series loss. to lose at home, even though you're playing a doubleheader to Anaheim, that's terrible.
It was a bad series just overall. It was like it was a nothing burger. It was a complete dud of a series. And when Max and I, before we hit record, I was like, Max, this series was terrible. I know it. There's really not much to glean from this besides that there was just a bad series and like the people played bad. And even when the game they won with Luis Gil, he walked 5 guys. It's like there wasn't a lot to glean from it. So that's when we started taking more overarching topics to what the season is and moving forward. So. But
which
yeah,
is fine.
It was a shitty series.
When you're talking to someone like Max, who's covering the team day in and day out, talking about some overarching things is not a bad thing. All right, so before we get to the first positive, we all know bills can pile up and unexpected expenses can hit you when you least expect them to. One service you should not be overpaying for is your wireless provider. That's why I'm happy Mint Mobile is sponsoring today's show. Say bye-bye to overpriced wireless plan and hello to Mint Mobile for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. And when they say $15 a month, they mean it. What you see is what you get. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number and contacts and all that good stuff along with you. This is an amazing offer, and I know you're going to love it because I have used it in the past, and I love it. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Bronx. Again, mintmobile.com/Bronx. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 per month at mintmobile.com/Bronx. $45 upfront payment required, which is equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on a first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabyte unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. The starting pitching. Definitely a positive to take away from this Texas series. Rodon in the first game on Saturday, 5 2/3, 3 hits, no runs. He did walk 5, which is too many walks for a 5 2/3 innings start, but he did not let it beat him because he only gave up 3 hits, 6 strikeouts. He's got a 2.22 ERA since the All-Star break, which is the 4th best in the American League with at least 20 innings pitched. And there was also an interesting stat that Logan was sending around our chat. 19 of his 24 starts, he's allowed 3 runs or fewer in a game. And that's tied for 2nd in the American League. And on the surface of that sounds great, obviously. But I was like, damn, I feel like Rodon had a bunch of 4+ inning starts, especially early in the season, where, yeah, he'd only give up a run or 2. But if you're getting pulled in the 5th inning, I don't consider that a successful start, no matter how many runs you give up. But it was actually only 3 occurrences where he didn't go at least 5 innings. And even in those, I think I was looking, he went more than 5 innings in a good chunk of them as well. But I guess the new standard is at least get through 5 innings as a starting pitcher. And if you're giving up 2 runs, 5 innings, 3 runs, 5 innings, That's good, clearly, to be tied second in the American League. That's good.
Yeah, and it's, we talked about the stretch that he had that was bad. It felt longer than I guess it was, honestly, because expectations come into this. Like they just do. And when you're thinking about a guy and you see him come out and suck for multiple times, who's getting paid, an exorbitant amount of money, then I think it just it becomes bigger in your head. When you look back, you realize it wasn't as big as it was. And throughout the year, he's been, pretty good as far as a consistent guy. I mean, you went as far as saying like, there's no way that Carlos Rodon, I still screw up his last name. Rodon is
after you lectured me on how to say it.
I know, because I think I got it in my head now, and I don't even know. I still don't. I'm not convinced I'm saying it correctly ever. But the confidence of him starting a playoff game, and the fact that
he could pitch like this for the rest of the season. Yeah. I'm still not going to have confidence. Is he going to start a playoff game? Yeah,
he's going to start the second game of the playoffs.
Yes, I know that, but yeah. I'm not going to be confident in that.
Yeah, but that's where we were going though. It's like, yeah, this guy he's still that slotted in for that number 2 spot in the rotation in the playoffs. Like this is going to be it. So we need to continue to see more consistency from him. And the fact that, he's only given up, 3 runs of 19 of those 24, obviously that's a positive thing. And the fact that there is a little bit more length, and, he's showing now the ability not only to, whereas before he was walking guys and then giving up the big hit, he's been avoiding that big hit. He's been able to work himself out of some of these jams that he's put himself in because of the walks. And I think that's a testament to, the fact that he's, committed to more of a pitch repertoire and go to different pitches at different times than really he has in his career. And, Matt Blake, I'm sure, has a very big piece in why he's doing it, and the fact that he's developed, the confidence with other pitches as well. But he's been good. He's been good. And as of late, he's been dependable, I guess.
If we're nitpicking, though, 5 walks in under 6 innings is terrible.
That's a lot. It's a lot of walks.
That's the reason why
base runners.
That's the reason why he didn't go deeper in that game. And in a doubleheader game, and you see how it impacted the second game, because Cole was absolutely dominant, but he was pulled at 90 pitches because he's on a 90 pitch count for some reason, which we're going to talk about. But then Weaver comes in, and the bullpen completely melts down and blows that second game. If Rodon in the first game doesn't walk 5 guys, maybe he's able to go through 6 innings, or maybe even into the 7th or through the 7th inning, because his pitch count is lower and there's fewer base runners, and that has a trickle-down effect when you're playing a doubleheader. It even has a trickle-down effect even if you're not playing a doubleheader, but especially when you're playing a doubleheader.
Yeah, no doubt. And you sandwich that with the bullpen just not very good as far as talent. Then you get into bad situations, and guys like Michael Tonkin are probably closer to what we thought they were originally than what has shown a few times here. It's only a matter of time before a lot of these guys turn back into pumpkins.
Have you sensed this past week there's been a lot of playoff rotation talk around the Yankees?
No.
Maybe I was. I don't know. I mean, I heard.
Was that the week you had off? The week you tuned things out. There was a lot of rotation talk?
I'm really talking about this weekend when I was listening to. I was listening to a lot of Craig Carton and Susan Waldman this weekend, which is, man, is that a dynamic duo. I know you have some thoughts on Carton, but they were talking about it, and then when I threw on yes, I heard them talking about it as well, because Stroman Stroman has been bad, and he was pushed back, and so he's vying to stick in that rotation when the Yankees set up their playoff rotation. Yeah. And obviously Rodon needs to prove that he's going to be consistent enough to have confidence in start. I know you're shaking your head like, oh, he's definitely going to start.
He is.
I know.
He doesn't need to prove anything. Not to the Yankees. I think he's going to throw.
Yes, he is. But I think that how well he is throwing the ball come playoff time could dictate what game they start him in.
Sure.
And stuff like that.
But even that, when you're like earlier in the year when we were jockeying around how to line up those guys, if the playoffs were, on a given day, Nestor was always the one that was potentially thrown in there for a home start, but he's been so bad at home also. Yeah. Then that's thrown out the window. Now you just got to look at who gives you the best opportunity on any given day, no matter where you are, to throw. And it's I mean, Heel, I think is the answer to that over Rodon, probably, like as far as talent and what they've done this year. But I still think Rodon is going to be the guy.
I agree. And so you're looking at Cole, Rodon, Heel, and then whoever is throwing the best come playoff time.
Yeah, and that guy may not even be here right now because it might be Clark Schmidt.
Might be Clark Schmidt. Maybe it's Stroman. Maybe it's Nestor Cortez. I think if you're just saying who has the lead, who's the leader in the clubhouse, it's Stroman because of the experience and the contract, mainly the contract. But it's going to come down
experience is something that you have to lean on. The fact that he's just like a
who has more playoff starts, Nestor Cortez or Marcus Stroman?
It's a good question. But I mean, I'm not even considering Nestor Cortez right now, to be honest. Like, he's looked so terrible that I mean, I know things can change in a month and a half, and we'll see where that lands. But I still believe he's the most likely to be a guy out of the bullpen, just because of the fact that Boone has some confidence in him in situations, and just I think he's got the confidence of the coaching staff to do different things. He's the guy that can plug in different ways more than anybody, I think.
Logan, were you going to say who has more playoff starts? I threw this out there.
I think Stroman has 5.
Okay, and Cortez is 3, right?
Yeah, and Stroman's he's a 4.4 ERA in the playoffs. Like, he's basically like looking at like his starts, 5 1/3, 4 earned runs in his last playoff start. He's very like 6 innings, 2 runs, like very like exactly what he is in the playoffs.
When these came with Toronto,
he's Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
this
is
consistent.
This is 2016 was his last playoff start, so this is a long time
2016,
ago.
damn.
Yeah.
And so he got playoff starts in 2015 and 2016?
And that's it. Yep.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
And you bite your tongue with Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter was a 312 hitter in the regular season and then a 312 hitter in the postseason when the competition got better.
This I know.
Or whatever the actual number is. I forget what the actual number. I think it's close to 312. So the game 2 on Saturday, Cole was dominant, 10 strikeouts, and he's pulled at 90 pitches. After the game, Boone's asked, did you ever think about sticking with him there? Because obviously the bullpen melted down, and Boone completely disregarded it, saying, no, 90 was our limit here. I know Cole had to be skipped way back when they were in Philly, but then he made his start against Toronto last Sunday. He threw 91 pitches. So why is he still on a 90 pitch count for this start? Like, is it because they're easing him? Well, like, you've already had a start. You threw 91 pitches a week ago. Why are you only throwing 90 pitches now?
They're obviously being very careful with him. I don't know if the fatigue piece of it was the reason why he got skipped, the reason why he went 90 pitches. So, and didn't Boone say in a press conference as well, like after one of the games, just saying they're just trying to ease him back? I don't know. There's probably
is he still having diarrhea? What is going on here? This can't be still from a stomach bug he had 12 days ago.
Yeah, and your body should absolutely recover from that. So I don't know. They're clearly just being careful with the way that they're doing him, and they have hard lines in the sand. Like, the nerd doctors are saying 90 pitches. That's it. Don't go past that, and then we'll progress.
What's his season high in pitches, Logan? Because I know he was when he came back from injury, we were questioning how they were ramping him up, where it seemed like for 3 starts in a row he threw 61 pitches or something like that, and then he did eventually get over 100 pitches, and I forget when that was, but now he's back down in the 90 range, and we're supposed to believe this is all from flu that he had, or body or stomach virus that he had, whatever.
I mean, he struck out 10 guys. I don't see any injury.
I know. I'm not questioning.
Cautious with him.
This seems overly cautious.
Yeah, he got up to in July 12th, 19th, and 24th. He threw 106 pitches, 103 pitches, and 100 pitches. And then in his last 2, 91 and 90.
Okay, so he was up to over 100 pitches. You're telling me he couldn't have thrown 101 pitches on Saturday? Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. While you were gone, by the way, speaking of pitch count, in case you missed it, Luis Gil threw 107 pitches.
Was that his career high?
I don't know if that was his career high, but it was a lot of pitches. I was surprised that they even went that high.
Was that in 5 innings?
No.
It was against Anaheim, right?
Yeah, it was more than that. But I was just surprised that they went that high with him at the highest innings limit as well. Sorry, I digress, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that because I thought it was interesting. Because it doesn't seem like there's a rhyme or reason now. Like, when I saw that, I'm like, well, now I don't know what the strategy is anywhere.
I don't understand. And we've always said Cole seems like a guy that's kind of dictating his own strategy and his own ramp up time. So in pregame meetings, if they're like, you're on for 90 pitches, he'd be like, okay, but like, let's see how I'm going when hit that 90
exactly.
pitches.
That's more of what I would expect. Some type of a conversation in between. Like, how are you feeling? Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling the 90 pitches? Does it feel like 110 pitches? I don't know what that
and maybe it
conversation
did.
was.
If the conversation was had and he's like, I'm done. Okay. But that's not what Boone said.
No, Boone definitely said that there was a in the binder. It said in the binder that was left for me
It's
in
now
my
an
office,
iPad.
in the iPad. It's 90
shot
90
caller.
pitches. 90 pitches. It's a shot caller.
It's just a frustrating thing because how many times have we just begged for Boone to use his eyes and use a feel in the game, in the moment, what is happening here? I'm not saying don't have pitch limits and don't have plans going in, but this is not a recovering from Tommy John surgery or whatever that is in the past. He's already ramped up to over 100 pitches. A stomach bug should be long past you at this point. It's 2 weeks old. If he's telling you, I'm feeling good, let him get through that inning.
Yeah, well, maybe he's not saying that. And for the record, when I had that stomach thing when we were gone, like
I know it took a while.
It took a solid couple of weeks for me to like physically feel okay again. To be honest,
But you know what, Scott?
Yeah, I'm not a world-class athlete. I mean, neither is Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's got a world-class arm.
He's got world-class. He's got a world-class training facilities and probably medications and fluids that you've never even heard of pumped
100%.
into him.
You're right. You're right. But
he's also how old? 33 years old. And how old are you?
It doesn't matter. As a normal person, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get back from something because the stomach bug was probably not just what it was. It was probably some virus that stayed in his body. And you could have all the medicine in the world, but when you have a virus, the virus just has to run its course.
Has Garrett Cole ever eaten lo mein from Yankee Stadium before? Probably not. And I've seen you house some lo mein from Yankee Stadium as we're 9 beers deep. I promise you that
lo mein is in the buffet at some point. I guarantee lo mein is in the buffet because
too much sodium. Too much sodium. That's going to dehydrate guys. No, they're not going to get dehydrated like that.
I needed something to soak up the beer. Okay?
You chose
and I was
lo mein.
drunk in the 8th inning of a long day, and lo mein looked good.
Do we know in the single admission doubleheaders, do they cut off beer in the first game just to reopen the beer in the second game?
I don't know. I don't remember the last time I've been to a single admission doubleheader.
I've never been to a doubleheader. Never been to a
I have. I don't remember, but I have no idea what the beer situation is.
The problem is because single admission
I'm sure
doubleheaders,
they do. There's probably some regulation where they have to.
Single admission doubleheaders are always random. They're not scheduled, right? So unless
they're because of necessity.
Right. So unless you had a ticket to that day, you're not, or it's like you're just available and you're like, oh, I'll go see 2 games today. But oftentimes the single admission doubleheaders are always for weekday games because they're usually not going to do. That's another thing. Like Saturday, normally they're going to spread those out 1 p.m., 7 p.m. to get the double gates.
Yes.
And a Wednesday, they'll be like, okay, fine. No one's coming to 2 games anyway, so let's just do a single admission. You know what it might be? They might just do 2.5 hours or 3 hours and then close it for the entire day.
Well, that would be terrible.
Because isn't that the rule? Isn't it 2.5 hours or the 8th inning?
I don't know. I don't know what
or
the
the
rule
7th
is.
inning.
I always just make sure that I'm there before the 7th inning to get a beer if I need a beer. So I play it safe. And as far as like the rain, the weather was most likely dictating what kind of a doubleheader they were going to do.
And then Stroman, 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 1 strikeout. I just think with Stroman, he's a bend don't break type of pitcher, and he's always walking that tightrope where he might break, and it's always 1 hit away from breaking. And so from that standpoint, it's always like 1 hit or 2 hits are going to make or break his game. So that's the margin of error for him in his starts.
Yes. For sure, but the thing you're looking at for this particular start compared to what we had seen in the past is how is he executing his pitches, and that's what I was looking at. And what I saw a lot more yesterday was him living on the outside corners of the plate. He definitely made a couple mistakes in the middle of the plate, but that's what he had been. He just was missing his spots so consistently that it was a really big problem, and he wasn't able to get. He wasn't competitive for such a long time. And whatever they did in these 8 days, and I was talking with Max about this. I think that they mentioned that there's nothing wrong with him. There's no injury. It's mechanical. But at the same time, like you get that extra rest, you get those 8 days. Your body's going to recover a little better. Your body's going to recover more differently in that regards. And if you're a little bit more fresh, especially as a veteran guy, like you're going to be able to execute, and your mechanics will be able to be repeatable, a lot more repeatable at that point too. So I do think that him getting a little bit more rest, maybe there was a little bit of a dead arm in there just because of where we are in the season. that will affect how you pitch. Always. That will always affect how you execute your pitches. And if he's not executing at a very, very high level and being, very technical with how he's doing things and throwing all of his pitches where he wants them, then he's in trouble. So I think for him, being in a good spot physically is really important because his mechanics, he's not doing anything. He's not getting anybody out off of pure arm talent. He is very mechanically sound, and that's how he drives his success. And if he's not able to do that and able to repeat those mechanics, then he's in trouble. So I think that's something to keep an eye on down the stretch here, is if he's able to stay fresh and feeling good physically, then I think he'll be okay.
Did you talk about his splits first half, second half with Max?
There wasn't a ton there, to be honest, because last year I know there was an injury, and the year
he was
before
injured
that,
last year. Yeah,
yeah, he did well. I mean, there was some good things down the stretch. So
I'm looking at it right now. It's actually pretty close throughout his career.
Yeah,
and
I didn't see
back
much.
to what season? Going back to 2022. There's really not anything there either. He
Yeah.
was actually better in the second half.
Yeah, so I didn't see anything as far as struggles, or he's just been. I think it depended on what. And last year you throw it away because he was injured.
Right.
And like Logan said, like the last time he was competing in a playoff was 2016. So
Yeah.
And if he's a similar type guy, similar numbers in what we're seeing now and in the playoffs, like it's probably what he's going to be. And you're right, he's always going to be, but he's always going to be flirting with that line because that's the type of pitcher that he is.
And it's like, do you want that starting a playoff game though, where one single with second and third in the fifth inning is going to make or break a playoff game?
If all things are equal, a guy and they're both pitching well, a guy like Clark Schmidt has the higher ability to strike someone out.
Is Clark Schmidt even going to be stretched out by the time
Yes, he should
October
be,
comes around?
Everything's pointing in that way, yeah.
Do we have an update on Clark Schmidt?
He was feeling good.
No, we have
throwing the ball a lot.
No,
What does that mean?
And he said that he would be stretched out. He said that last week he said he would be stretched out by the end of the season.
Yeah, and Cashman came out in that same thing and said he's going to be starting a rehab assignment around August 22nd.
Yeah.
And that puts him on track to return to the majors around the second week of September.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Max and I were talking about this, and he's expecting him to be, much further stretched out by the end of the month. Like that's where he's looking at as far as where he's going to be stretched out wise.
So then what we're talking about is a 3-week competition in September between Clark Schmidt, Nestor Cortez, and Marcus Stroman for who gets that fourth game in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think so.
And if all else is equal, are you basing the decision on who's going to be better in the bullpen or who's going to be better in the starting rotation?
I think you look at who the matchup's going to be. You have to identify like what that matchup's going to look like. Are you going to be the home team or whatever that looks like? You need to understand the situation first. And then, I think you do have to make a decision. I think what we're going to talk about in the bullpen as well, and what has been one of the biggest themes of the season, is you got to see where this bullpen lands in a month and a half, because I have no idea where it's going to land. I really don't. I don't think anybody does. Nobody has any idea where this bullpen is going to land and who the names are going to be in that bullpen come the end of the year, because there's not a lot of confidence going around any of those guys. And when
you can't hold you have to go to Holmes first of all in that game on Sunday. That's already a failure, and then you are narrowly close to blowing that game with a 5-run lead going into the 8th inning.
Yeah. And that was because, Judge and Soto go back to back to get the runs back that you just gave up. So, I don't know what that bullpen is going to look like at the end of the year. There may be 2 guys from AAA that we haven't seen up here. I mean, there's this another topic I was talking about with Max. Like, there's a lot of people in AAA that could be on this playoff roster, and we just don't know about it yet. Like, the amount of pitchers that are down there that have been rehabbing and are potentially, have more upside than what we're currently seeing now. The reality of that is very possible. It's very real. It's very, very much. You could see a lot of AAA guys that are there right now on August 12th, up in the majors and part of a playoff bullpen.
Yeah, that's one of the most famous examples of that. Do you remember Francisco Rodriguez for Anaheim way back in the whatever year they won the World Series? Was that 2002? He was like a September 1st call up, and he was their most dominant relief pitcher in the playoffs.
And that's a tough one. He's
My point is
he's a great.
My point is it's not unprecedented for relief pitchers to make a surprise impact late in the season, and we've seen the Yankees sort of throw darts against the wall and find lightning in a bottle for a short period, even this season, right? There was a 6-week span where Tonkin looked unhittable. So,
yeah. No, there might be some flamethrowers down there that end the season well and are able to come up. Plus, there's just a bunch of guys that are rehabbing and getting back up to speed. So over the next month, their season goes to September 15th, because we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. I had Logan look up. AAA season goes to September 15th. That's the regular season, and then the playoffs happen. And a lot of times when September call-ups are happening, obviously, a lot of these AAA teams get gutted. Even AA sometimes will get gutted for their playoffs and have a very different roster for their own playoffs.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
We got a couple more positives, but we are brought to you today by Factor Meals. Summer is a hectic time. If you've been wanting to eat healthy to show off that beach bod, you might not have the time to work out, go grocery shopping, make home-cooked meals, all that stuff. But with Factor, you can stick to your wellness goals and eat delicious food. The best part is it is ridiculously easy. The process is great. You go on their website and choose from over 35 delicious meals each week. You can also customize your deliveries with 60 different add-ons. Highly skilled chefs prepare your food and is delivered to you. Heating the meals up takes just 2 minutes, and then there is no mess or anything to clean up. All of Factor's meals are fresh and never frozen. They have options for every meal from breakfast to dessert. And my personal favorite Factor meal that I've ever tried is the chorizo chili. It has the perfect amount of spice that any good chili needs. Factor is no prep, no mess, just delicious food. We have an awesome deal for you. Head to factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month after that. That is a great deal. Half off your first box and then 20% off your next month after that. Factormeals.com/Bronx50. Aaron Judge is pretty good at hitting a baseball.
Jesus, man. He doesn't stop.
He's obviously leader in the clubhouse for MVP this season, which is saying something considering after the first 2 months of the season, we're like, Soto's got this locked up because of just how amazing he's been and really consistent Soto's been, but Judge just took it to another level. And his average, which is the crazy thing, is up to 328. What is also, Logan Hewlett, what is Judge's career high in batting average? Bobby Witt Jr. Leads the AL with a 347 batting average. So, if Witt goes into 10-day slump, Judge continues his hot streak, you could see both of those batting averages, at the same level very quickly. He's leading in home runs. He's leading in RBIs. So he's got an outside chance at the Triple Crown, which is cool. I don't know what else it is other than cool if you're the Triple Crown winner, but he's got a chance to do that.
I was surprised when looking at who the guys were right behind him in the standings of the Triple Crown on this categories, that Anthony Santander has 35 home runs. Also, like, whoa. And yeah, them getting Holiday as well coming up, and like, man, they're a formidable offense for sure.
So Judge and Soto, like you said yesterday, with those clutch home runs late in the game to give the Yankees the insurance that they ended up definitely needing. Judge has been a massive positive. And the other one is Stanton. Since coming off the IL, has been pretty good. In his last 7 games, he's hitting .296 with only a .310 on base percentage. So what is that, like 1 walk? .630 slugging, .940 OPS, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. That home run that he hit on Sunday, I don't know I've ever seen a home run exactly like that, where it's a breaking ball down. He goes down and kind of just swats/yanks the ball down the left field line. I swear the ball never went more than 25 feet off of the ground and just impaled somebody in the left field seats. That is insane.
He does that. That's what he does, right? There's not very many people do it the way that he does it either, because he does swat at it. He swings the bat like an axe, like a lumberjack would be chopping wood. Like, the guy just has insanely fast hands and upper body where he just turns so quickly. Yeah, and they're missiles. Like, the feeling you get is exactly what Ben Rice they showed his face after that home run, I think it was, and he was just like, oh, like disgusting, like just, like the gross face. Like I've never seen anything like it because he hits the ball so hard, so consistently.
There's a handful of guys in the sport, probably in the history of the sport, that can hit a home run like that. You can hit a line drive home run, but it's not going to come on a breaking ball down out of the strike zone. Like I don't understand how he did that.
He the way that his bat is the barrel of the bat gets thrown to the ball. It's different. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's different than a lot of people. And
like that ball is a single. That ball is a single at Fenway Park because it just goes off the left field, halfway up the green monster.
It might still be. Speaking of impaling a person, it might impale the green monster.
Yeah. They were talking about it on the radio because I was listening to the game yesterday as we were unpacking the car and everything. And Susan was talking about the launch angle was, I think it was 17 degrees launch angle, which is the same as like Aaron Judge's single earlier in the game. So it's the same launch angle as like most people's single. And like Judge obviously is going to hit moonshots, but Judge's far home runs, they go as high as they do far.
Yes. Yeah. His are majestic, whereas Stanton is looking, Stanton would be like, he would be good in the military, just sitting back there and just hitting nukes at people, just missiles. That's what they are. They're missiles.
I imagine Stanton on the golf course just only hitting 2-iron stingers up the fairway every single time.
Yeah, I would love to see him drive a golf ball.
Probably an ugly golf swing.
It's probably ugly, but if he's able to hit it straight, my God.
Yeah. And some other positives that we want to touch on is Austin Wells continues to hit in the cleanup spot. I know he was moved down to the 5th spot with the lefty on the mound, and Stanton was moved up. Whether it's Stanton or Wells in the cleanup spot is huge because you saw that home run on Sunday for Stanton came after an intentional walk to Judge. And so that's making the other team pay, which is the only way you're going to put the thought in the mind to the opposing team till we have to pitch to Judge here. Maybe they're still going to not do it because they'll take their chances with the next guy, but at least make it a decision.
I love the fact that it was 2 strategic decisions that backfired because they walked Judge and then they brought in the righty. They made a pitching change. Bochy made a pitching change to specifically attack Stanton, and then he just hit that nuke. So yeah, 2 things went wrong that didn't work out for the Rangers in that instance, and a lot of it was driven by the fact that they don't want to pitch to Aaron Judge.
And some other things, and I kind of want to dovetail this into a topic about the leadoff hitters. So Glaber, since the All-Star break, is hitting 269 with a 706 OPS. That's fine. Verdugo, since the All-Star break, is hitting 253 with a 664 OPS. That's pretty much what he's done all season. But his last 6 games, which is not a huge sample, he's got an 824 OPS. DJ, since the All-Star break, not great. But if you isolate that to basically just the month of August, he's hitting 348 with a 565 slugging and an 885 OPS. Is that it's probably the date in which he had the big game in Philly, right? And then didn't play for three days after that, 4 days after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got those players who are at least contributing a little bit. But I want to talk about the leadoff spot because I still feel like they're just grasping at straws for who's going to hit leadoff. And it's matchup dependent, depending on if it's a lefty or a righty on the mound. You've seen Glaber and Verdugo there. But like, why has Jazz not gotten an opportunity to hit leadoff? Because I heard Susan talking on the radio yesterday that Boone is hoping somebody takes the leadoff spot. Okay, but then you got to try more than just Glaber and Verdugo there. If you're looking for someone to take it, well, you're only giving Glaber or Verdugo the shot. And isn't that just going to be matchup dependent? So that's not really hoping someone takes it. That's just like, I hope this guy has a good day today.
Yeah, so I talked about this with Neil actually on Monday. I'm not sure if that was the first time. It was not the first time. It was not as many times that you've been on with Neil. But we had some I think good conversations, and one of them was around the leadoff spot and talking about, because I believe that leadoff spot is maybe not as much, but is definitely part of the protection for Soto and for Judge.
Got to get on base.
As the 4 spot is, because the 4 spot, yes, it's behind him. You're making them think, but if there's someone on in front of them, then you're putting at least someone into scoring position by walking Judge at that point. So I do think I think that 1 and 4 spot are very important for success moving forward for the Yankees as far as, actually having production beyond those 2 guys. and to maximize their production, frankly, and to really put the thought in the back of the head of like, hey, do I walk this guy when there's somebody on, or do I walk this guy because there's someone that's being very productive in that 4 spot?
Definitely.
That said, when you're looking at the 3 guys that you're talking there, you're breaking them up between lefties and righties, because exactly what you said, Boone's going, depending on the matchup, he's Verdugo's there versus righties. And then, although he was there for a lefty over the weekend as well.
Wasn't that just because the doubleheader?
I don't know. But LeMahieu, to me, at this point, I want to see in the leadoff spot. I want to see him. I want to see what he can do there, because in the month of
August, he's not even playing every day though. He's playing.
He doesn't need to, because again, if he against lefties, if you're going to put Glaber in the leadoff spot,
sure,
I would rather see DJ LeMahieu in the leadoff spot at that point.
At least
if you're doing yes, he's looked different this month. There's just no doubt about it. Like anybody who's been watching his games and watching the way he is, reacting to the baseball, or reacting as far as like just his demeanor and the way that he's playing ball, you can tell that he's a lot more comfortable, locked in, and feels better. So I want that guy up there. He works the count better, as good or better than anybody on the team. He's putting the team in a position for success because of that. You're able to see a lot more pitches, and frankly, he just gets on base more now. And this is what the role was going to be going into the season. DJ was going to be the leadoff guy because of the types of at bats he's got. So I don't want to see Jazz in the leadoff spot. I think the lineup is worse with Jazz in the leadoff spot, because I think Jazz adds that element of power down in 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever that is. And I like having him and Volpe down there because of the speed too. I think you're adding another dynamic to this lineup with the speed of those 2 guys towards the end of the lineup that is going to be a very big problem for pitching staffs to navigate. You have all that power up front. If you can get someone on in front of those 2 guys, like first and foremost, priority number 1, get someone on. And who right now is giving you the best ability to do that against left-handed pitching? I say DJ LeMahieu. And if he is breaking out of his shell, and this is we're seeing kind of like the resurgence, and he's feeling good, then yeah, why the hell not get him in there and see what happens?
I just try someone other than just Glaber and Verdugo. To me, that makes no sense. Like, I know what Glaber and Verdugo are at this point. Like, we're deep into the season.
There's no other. If you're not considering Jazz up there, you want him down.
Why are you not considering Jazz up there?
Because I do think it takes away from you're removing a lot of his athletic ability if you put him up there, because of the fact that he's not going anywhere.
Okay,
he can't run. He can't, you're looking for that home run. He's going to be station to station a lot more often up there. Whereas he can take a little bit more chances. You're seeing more of that ability, and he's got pop. Like, I want that pop a little later in the lineup.
What about Austin Wells? 344 on base percentage. You're just talking about getting on base in front of Soto and Judge, and you're going to be station to station anyway. Just make it so it's not an easy intentional walk because there's somebody already on base. I mean,
the same conversation goes to him at the 4 spot. He's been so good. I'm not messing with that. He's been good. He's been really good behind him.
Stanton 4th.
Again, they're playing
and then
the
Jazz 5th. Come on.
They're playing the matchup.
All of those options are better. Glaber and Verdugo are not the answers at leadoff. Those guys are not consistent enough. They're not good enough to hit leadoff. I do not want them hitting leadoff in the playoffs. Absolutely not.
Cool. So the next of the month, get DJ some reps up there, because in a perfect world, DJ's the guy.
Yes, but DJ's not even playing every day. DJ's playing once a series.
Yes, again. So
and you don't face a lot of lefty pitchers. Lefties, you face a lefty twice a week.
So you start sprinkling him in more, and you do it not all at once. And you see how that is. You have a month and a half to ramp things up. You have a month and a half to figure that out.
You see Kyle Schwarber hitting leadoff for Philly. He's not a prototypical leadoff hitter, but he gets on base and he can hit home runs. And that's an interesting thing, I think, for Austin Wells to put him leadoff. I like what he's done in the cleanup spot, but I would like to see it in the leadoff spot. It's just
one of these situations where you're just, you're what's the saying? Despite your nose, despite your face, to save your nose. So I don't know what the hell it is, but if you're taking away from the 4 spot
when Stanton was not there.
Yeah, but you're removing a strength.
You're spiting your nose to spite your face, and spiting your mouth, and you're stabbing yourself in the eye.
You're spiting your nose to save your face.
You're blowing your nose because
you're congested. You need to make sure that there's room in the 1 and the 4 spot. But I think
you got a Z-pack.
Very important. They're both very important. So I'm not trying to remove something that's a strength right now to take away, and then put him in a position he's not never been in.
Do you like Gleyber and Verdugo leading off?
No, I already told you my solution. I want DJ there.
Yeah, okay, fine. But he doesn't even play every day. He
So
can't
ramp
even
it up.
play when he's shown consistency. Like, he's finally showing consistency.
Ramp it
and
up
he's not
and-
playing every day.
Yeah, he needs to be playing more. Ramp it up slowly and get him in there closer to every day.
A guy who's not consistent. He's consistently not consistent as Anthony Volpe at the plate, who's now 2 for 29 over his last 7 games. No home runs, did not reach base in the Texas series. 11 strikeouts in that span, 0.69 batting average, 172 OP. Just terrible. He's in another terrible slump. And he had been good prior to that since the All-Star break, but we're seeing him back in one of these Anthony Volpe slumps. It's just the pendulum goes from great hitter to non-existent hitter. There's no in between.
I was looking at something when we were playing the Philadelphia Phillies. Would you put Bryce Harper in like top 5 baseball
I know
players
Bryce
in the
Harper
world?
was in a horrible slump. I'm not saying no one can ever go into a horrible slump. Derek Jeter went into an 0 for 30 slump at one point in his career. But all we've seen for now almost 2 full seasons from Anthony Volpe is bursts of greatness and bursts of horribleness. That's all we've seen.
Greatness, I love it. Yeah, he needs to get more consistent. There's no doubt. He needs to make the downside a little bit less prolonged and feel different. And I think it comes down to his control of the strike zone, and that's the biggest thing. Like, it's his discipline at the plate.
He's not walking at all anymore.
He's not
even when he
walking at
was
all.
hitting.
He's
after
striking
the
out a
All-Star
lot right
break.
now. Yeah.
Right, but even when he was hitting after the All-Star break, he wasn't walking.
Yeah, that's the book on him. He needs to get more plate discipline. When he's going bad, he becomes swing happy and he strikes out a lot and does not walk. And when he's got opportunities in the plate, he's missing them. So he needs to get better at that. He needs to get more consistent. There's no doubt about it.
Couple other things to touch on from the Texas series, but if you have ever dreamed about speaking a second language, I highly recommend Babbel as the best way to do it. With Babbel, you can start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is great because their convenient courses can fit into your hectic schedule. Lessons are just 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations. You should not pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that claim they can help you learn a new language. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, and rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching, so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. You can go to a restaurant and you can order off of the menu, and you can talk to the people in the restaurant, or you can ask where the bathroom is. Just, regular stuff you're going to need to do if you're traveling to another country. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. A special deal for our listeners right now. Get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. That's 60% off at babbel.com/Bronx, spelled BABBEL.com/Bronx. Rules and restrictions apply. You want to touch on the bullpen more? I mean, just like I trust nobody in that bullpen. Clay Holmes comes in the 8th inning last night and gets out of it. Great. And then he gets 2 outs in the 9th inning, and it's just it's just 1 out to go, 1 strike to go, I think. And it's just
Multiple
not,
times.
he can't get it. And did Gleyber fall down? What happened on that last play there? Because
It was strange.
He was like this close. He was a millimeter away from botching that.
He was so close to doing it. I audibly gasped when I saw him turn his glove back to the backside, and when he did that, his feet got all tangled up, and he had to go down on a knee. Not because he was, acting like an outfielder and making damn sure that ball didn't get by him. But he lost his balance and had to throw like from his elbow, almost like a dart over to first base. Yeah, it was awkward, and he definitely got tangled up. But thank God he made that play. Yeah, man, like. One of the biggest concerns for me looking at this bullpen is the lack of consistent strike throwing. It's such a problem. And when you have
strike throwing, I thought you meant strike out. Throwing.
But when you have a lack of the ability to show that you can throw strikes in big moments or just have the command to throw strikes, you're not going to strike anybody out because you're not going to fool anybody either. If you're not getting the same shape on your pitch that you need to get a strikeout, because you can't throw it for a strike, it's a problem.
I think we talked about this. Clay Holmes can't throw his sinker for a strike. It's only his sweeper is his I need to throw a strike pitch.
And his
so bad. That's so bad for him.
His two-seamer, his sinker, two-seamer, it's the same pitch, is his best pitch by far. He has to have that pitch. Like, that's his out pitch. He could get strikeouts on that pitch.
But he can't throw it. He can't throw it over the plate.
It's crazy how he can't throw that over the plate.
It's sailing high and away to lefties. It's in the dirt against righties. He's yanking it against righties. It is all over the place.
They need to go back and study the tape of, was that 22?
22.
It was early 22 when he was absolutely lights out dominant. We thought we had the next closer for
peppering the zone with unhittable two-seam fastballs.
98, 99 miles per hour with horizontal and some downward movement. Like, again, I think it's more of a two-seamer than it is a sinker because it's really effective up in the zone and it's got horizontal movement. It's a very difficult pitch to hit. And if he can throw that thing for a strike, it's an out pitch. It's a no doubter go-to out pitch for a closer. And it's the opposite of what the cutter is. It goes the opposite way. And it's torture on right-handed batters. If you see something that's coming in looking like a fastball over the plate and it dives out over your hands at the last minute, it's a huge problem for hitters. And you're right. He just can't consistently throw it. I don't know what they got to do to go back and go to the Marcus Stroman lab of taking some time off, because it doesn't really matter for the bullpen. Just give him a week off. I don't care, because it doesn't matter. And get him right. He needs to get right.
Well, it's just going to take one team to realize, his get me over pitches is a sweeper, and that's just a batting practice pitch when it's in the middle of the plate. So
when it's your only pitch, when it's your pitch that you need to consistently rely on, and he's not getting the same shape on it either, and he's throwing it up in the zone. Like, even when in that ninth inning, when he needed a strike, he was looking to get that backdoor slider, and he wasn't able to bend it back. The bend of the pitch, the structure of the pitch just wasn't good. And it was up in the zone. If he's living and trying to fool someone up in the zone with that pitch over the outside of the plate, trying to get like a comeback slider to hit the outside of the plate, that thing is, because of his problems with throwing the ball, consistently over the plate and mechanically being able to repeat what he's doing, that ball more times than not is going to find the heart of the plate and be extremely hittable.
And the fact that this bullpen still does not have a lot of put away stuff puts more pressure specifically on the infield defense. And we've seen the infield defense break down. We saw it yesterday. Jazz Chisholm with the error. I know he's not playing his natural position, so you got to cut him some slack there. But if he's going to be your everyday third baseman and you're getting a lot of ground balls late in close games, that's an issue. Gleyber Torres, I don't trust at all. You saw it last night to end the game. You can't be trusted with an easy routine ground ball to second base to close out a game. You've also got both Jazz and Gleyber just cutting off Volpe for no reason. Volpe is your best defender in the infield. Let him field the ground ball. I don't want you morons touching the ball. Let the good guy field the ball.
Yeah, and so Jazz at third base, definitely we saw the inexperience of Jazz this series on full display at third base. There was a ball that was a dribbler, not a dribbler, but a slow ground ball that he had to make a throw on the move, wasn't able to field it as well. There was that play at third base where he needed to just get the force out and touch the bag, where he went for the tag. So just understanding the situation and where you're playing. And then, the ball up that was in the hole. Volpe was definitely there for the throw, and Jazz cut him off. You could tell that he was hesitant. And I'm not crushing Jazz at all. That is not the tone I'm getting here. What is the tone though? Is that what is a very real thing is that Jazz Chisholm has not played third base. It's a new position for him, and it's not an easy position. I think it's one of the more difficult positions on the infield. And when you're looking at him, going to be, and the reason he's playing there is because no one else would play over there who's been on this.
But realistically, imagine how bad Gleyber Torres would be over there.
100%.
Oh no, he would be a million times worse than Jazz.
The situation, and again, there are so many things that I think are still up in the air with what this team is going to look like in a month and a half, because Rizzo could come back. He's swinging the bat. And what Max was saying, they were they were looking at him swinging the bat, taking batting practice off of not Clay Holmes, off of one of the pitchers rehabbing. I'm sorry, I forget who it was, but rehabbing to Clark Schmidt. It was Clark Schmidt. He was hitting balls off of Clark Schmidt. So he's swinging the bat, not just dry swings, wet ass swings.
But man,
was
swings. He bad when he went down?
But I'm saying you never know. Like he comes back 3 weeks and he's hitting well. Then you all of a sudden now have DJ LeMay who can play third base, and you have a very solid glove over there. So I'm just saying there's a lot of things up in there.
You put Jazz back at second.
Exactly. Or Jazz goes into center field, and you have, Verdugo maybe isn't hitting, and you have, Judge in left and whatever. There's just a lot of different things that can happen still in the next month and a half. A lot of fluidity that can happen for what this is. But the overall thing, like with Jazz, he's new to the position. So there are absolutely going to be growing pains. He's super athletic and makes very good instinctual plays because he's an athlete and he's got good knack for the ball. But you saw that ball, to his glove side, he was hesitant and he definitely hesitated and Volpe should have taken that ball. He should have backed away. These are things that he's going to have to learn as he's going. Most guys have like a spring training and an offseason to learn the position. This guy's doing it on the fly. So I give him a lot of credit for that, but we're going to see more of that if he's at third base.
Just a little heads up to everyone out there preparing for some October baseball with this Yankees bullpen. Stock up on whatever you need to calm yourself down. Maybe that's booze. Maybe that's weed. Maybe that's antacids. I don't know, but it is going to be freaking scary in these playoff games with this bullpen trying to close games out.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a roller coaster. No doubt about it. So the offense needs to show up every single day. Every single day.
But they showed up yesterday. They scored 8 runs, and that was barely enough because of this bullpen.
The reason they won that game is because the offense came back and said, okay, we got to get a couple more runs. And who do you go to? You go big fly with your 2 guys, Soto and Judge, back to back.
Another also thing from that post game yesterday, Boone's talking about how he loved the Yankees at bats. We could have gotten double digits. We were so close to having double digits. Yeah, don't go 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. You might have double digit runs there, and it's not as much of an issue.
But you know what? Real quick on the bullpen, one thing to look at as well. And Logan, you pulled the number for Leiter as far as the home run. So, what's league average compared to what he has? He's right around 1.
He's not allowing a lot of home runs. 0.8 home runs per 9 innings is not a lot.
Yeah, it's not. Okay. So when I see him, I see obviously the ball down in the zone a lot. He's a strikeout guy, down in the zone a lot. So the two home runs are, I wasn't expecting him to be giving up home runs. Like of all things, I would expect him maybe a little bit of contact, maybe some walks, but he's able to get a strikeout.
No, but if anything, his advanced numbers with Chicago indicated he's a strikeout pitcher, but he had like a 4-something ERA, I believe.
Yeah. Right.
But his like FIP and stuff like that, his expected numbers were all pretty good.
Yeah. So I don't know, something to look at, but he's one of those guys that needs to be not giving up the long ball. He needs to be a guy that you can depend on for a strikeout and, maybe give up some traffic on the base path, but the long ball, like that does not need to be in his game.
The Yankees are hitting the road to Chicago and Detroit this week. Maybe you're going to be going to one of those games and in need of tickets. And if not, there's great tickets available for the next homestand against Cleveland and Colorado on the Game Time app. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game on Game Time is faster and easier than ever. The Game Time app has so many great features. I love the flash deals so you can see what sections the best deals are in. I also like to toggle on the all-in pricing so you're not hit with surprise fees at checkout. And the seat view, you get real pictures from inside the venue so you know what you are getting. The app is streamlined and is easy to use, just a few taps and your purchase is done. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with other people if you're going to be going to the game with friends and family. Game Time also has great tickets for concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. The Game Time guarantee means you're always going to get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account and redeem code BRONX, spelled BRONX, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You want to talk about Craig Carton?
I don't have a lot to say about him.
You texted our group over the weekend, and you were like, Craig Carton's doing play-by-play on the radio, and I was like, what? Why?
I was just shocked. I was shocked to hear him, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows he's a Mets fan. He always had that stick, Mets fans for Yankees. Like he would always like act like he was a Yankees fan when he was on the air with Carton. With Boomer. That was back in the day when I used to listen to those guys. And look, he's one of these polarizing guys, and I know he's gotten into personal things that you can have
Gambling, right? It was
him.
gambling that he.
Yeah, he went into a lot of debt and defrauded people, and like there was a whole bunch of stuff. I do believe in second chances. I believe that everybody deserves one. In his instance, like the guy has clawed back. I've always thought he was good as a radio guy because he's
entertaining.
I don't know. He's entertaining. He started off in like Shock Jock.
Yep.
And some people hate him. He's a polarizing figure.
I get why you'd hate him.
Yeah. I tend to like that type. Like he says whatever the hell's on his mind. He calls people out. He says shit, and I think it's relatively entertaining. I just wasn't expecting to hear him on with Susan Waldman in that moment. And I think he was himself, but you could tell like he hasn't watched a lot of Yankee games. There were a lot of generalities that we're talking about. Like he made some mistakes.
Care, though.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like he was coming at it from like a guy that hasn't seen a ton. He said something about, Glaber and Rice not played a lot on the infield together in the diamond this year. And like, that's why they made a mistake.
That stuff,
like shit like that. There was a lot of that, but again, like that's stuff that you get up to speed with. But he's his own voice, and to me, that's it. Like John Sterling was his own voice. He was himself.
You're not literally talking about the tone of their voice.
No, I mean like the personality behind their voice.
Yes. So here's the thing, Carton. I listened to a lot of his calls over the weekend. So I would listen to the entire game on radio on Sunday and good chunk of the game, one of the games on Saturday. He's objectively bad. He's an objectively bad radio baseball play-by-play guy, but he's interesting to listen to. I was entertained the entire time. I thought him and Susan had a good back and forth. He's so much more fun to listen to than the freaking nerds they've had filling in. Justin Shackle, I swear, is AI generated. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like we need to generate a voice for radio play-by-play, and Justin Shackle is what AI spit it out. He is so freaking just nerdy and insufferable to listen to. The inflections of his voice, it's like the Fordham Syracuse school just like had a baby and Justin Shackle came out. It's just, I will not be able to tolerate it if him or Emmanuel Babari or whoever other nerd they've had filling in.
I don't think they're doing. I think what's happening right now, one, is they're throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall.
Yeah.
Anytime you have to make a decision in the middle of the season when you weren't expecting it, and frankly, like they should have been expecting it. I know that there's been a whole bunch of turnover as far as like the programming manager and like the programming director at WFAN. There's been turnover in that on that side of things too. So I don't know what the game plan has been for succeeding John Sterling. And they, if you're an executive on WFAN, you should have been preparing this for the last 5 years and seeing who the options are. And every year you whittle it down to see who's available and who's not. And people have commitments. So you can't have someone that's always consistent there because they're probably doing something else at times as well. And Shackle also does a lot of stuff for WFA or for Yes Network, as do a lot of the other folks. So I get it. Like they're in a tough spot for trying to figure this out, and they're just trying to throw some people and to see who sticks and who can improve and do better. I was joking, like I'm about to throw my hat in the ring here and see if I can get a
because
tryout,
you know what, you can learn. I don't think Carton's gonna. I don't think he wants that job. Like I don't know why he did this. He did mention on in the final inning that it was like kind of a dream of his to do play-by-play.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Okay, so he was able to do that. I would doubt he's ever gonna do this full time for the Yankees.
You put a microphone in front of Craig Carton, he's gonna do fine. He's an entertaining guy and he's very comfortable there.
Someone like Craig Carton with a personality and can entertain you for 3.5 hours on a radio play-by-play, you can learn how to call a game.
Yes,
okay? You can learn that. And if you watch the team every day, you'll have more informed information about who's played on the infield and what this guy has done and all of that stuff. What you can't really teach is personality, okay? If you're a wet paper bag, you're a wet paper bag. Doesn't matter how good your voice sounds, and it's a ground ball to second base, fielded by Glaber Torres. He's got the out.
Well, and what you can hear, because you know who has that type of voice is Ricky Ricardo has that type of voice, but it's actually just like his voice.
It seems more natural and more like a human.
Oh, 100%. It's just the way that he speaks. He's just got a great radio voice. And some people have great radio voices.
Sure.
John Sterling had an absolutely fantastic radio voice. And then he had a style about him that gave us the voice of John
definitely had
Sterling.
a personality. That's
No
for
doubt
damn
about
sure.
it. And and Ricky Ricardo, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I think
in
Ricky Ricardo's
the booth.
good. I would be happy if he gets the job.
Well, and he has a rapport with Susan Waldman.
Yep.
And if Susan Waldman's going to be the other part of that booth for a long time, which I don't see that being affected in any way, that's extremely important. When you have two people in there that have chemistry and could actually have conversations and go back and forth and have some level of common ground, you need that. And that's the problem. Like, I don't think a lot of that is Shackle's fault, to be honest, because I think he's such a younger guy that I don't think they have a lot in common.
Generational gap between Shackle and Susan. And it's very noticeable that they have
It is very noticeable.
nothing in common in that broadcast. And it's a little painful.
And you can also notice it for some of these people who are filling in that they have no experience with like actual conversational interviews. Because when people come into the booth and they're talking and you want to have an entertaining conversation, you want to pull nuggets of interesting things from them. You see some of these guys that have like the just very canned and question and answer type thing. And like, and you
can't
can tell
rip off
rehearsed.
someone if someone has like a funny answer. They can't. They have to just go back to the play-by-play because that's all their brain can consume and that's all they can handle.
And you also have to have some level of experience and storytelling ability to go back to things that you've experienced. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to the booth when Carton was, I forget which game it was, but they had a guest in there, and he's able to just like pull from different experience. Kristen Clark was the guest. He's able to pull from
Caitlin Clark.
Sorry, they have different the ability to pull from different things in their life and relate to it. Craig Carton and Caitlin Clark have nothing in common, zero things in common from a generational perspective to like where their lives have been and where they are currently. Nothing in common. But he was able to find common grounds, little things. There was an airport that he talked about flying into that
because
Caitlin
he's a
Clark
professional radio guy.
He can have a conversation with folks.
Yes.
And you need
Absolutely.
that. You need that to be able to riff off of. It's entertaining. And that plays into
to be
the
entertaining.
dynamic.
You don't, that's the thing that people think.
But you don't have to be entertaining
realize.
in a solo. You don't have to be like
No.
in a vacuum. You don't have to be entertaining. You have to be entertaining with the other person.
Yes. But I mean, you've seen guys. I mean, Vin Scully was a solo broadcast booth for years and years.
I'm saying for this
but
instance,
the point is though, like everyone thinks, oh, you need to have like the X's and O's of calling a game down. Like that's the only way. No, that can all come with time. I will forgive. Listen, John missed a lot of stuff over the past few years. Yeah. So as far as X's and O's goes of calling the game, John wasn't the best for the past 10 years. But I loved it. Okay, and I will put up with mistakes on calling a game and imperfections there if you are engaging and entertaining and can carry the broadcast for 3 hours, because you will learn to be a better play-by-play guy.
I firmly believe that. That is a learned quality. The personality is something that is developed over time and is innately you. Right. And if you don't have that, and you don't have the level of confidence to be able to push that out there, maybe Justin Shackle is the most interesting guy in the world off of the mic. I have no idea. I don't know him personally. I don't know nothing about him in that regard. But if you can't bring that personality and have the confidence and like and just the ability to do that onto the microphone and have it translate to your audience, then it's an issue.
There was also a funny thing in the game where Carton, I forget who for the Rangers, got thrown out going to second base trying to stretch a double yesterday. And Carton was like, I never understood why guys are credited with a hit there. They made out. They were never safe at a base. And he just stumped Susan. And it was a really funny 30-second back and forth as she was like, but it's a single. He was on first. He reached first base. And Carton's like, he's not standing on first base. He's in the dugout. He's out. That should be an out. And Susan, her brain just melted at the thought that wouldn't be a single, that it would just be an out. I was like, I never thought that either, Carton, but that's interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely a contrarian in that side. Like he'll look at the other side and start going into even ridiculous things. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
I know a lot of people hate Carton, and he's not going to get the job, but I would love to see someone like that versus someone who's more of the radio mold. All right, we mentioned Schmidt's rehab. Cashman, there was also an article written on CBS Sports where Cashman said we currently have no lane for Jason Dominguez to be called up. And I know Jason Dominguez has not been hitting in AAA, but Cashman loves that phrase, no lane. He used it last year for Peraza. There's no lane for him, even though Josh Donaldson was hitting 112. No lane for Peraza to get everyday at bats. We got to have Josh Donaldson out there until he's released. And okay, you want to say the Yankees have no lane because you've got obviously Soto and Judge and Stanton's at DH. But like, are we really saying Verdugo is a no lane type of player right now? I know Dominguez is not hitting, but if Dominguez over the next 10 games hits 355, you're saying there's no lane for him? Come on.
Well, I mean, I think he does have to speak in the moment as well. They're right now. Here's where it is. Max and I talked about this for a little bit as well. The difference
here, I didn't listen. I'm just repeating things. I never.
No, you're bringing up different things because Cashman talked about it after my conversation with Max. But currently, there is no lane. When you're hitting below the Mendoza line in AAA, you don't deserve to be brought up right now. He's coming back from injury. This is his spring training. Like, he's got to get back up and do the things that he needs to do to feel comfortable, both in the field and at the plate. So I understand that there's no reason to rush him up here. No reason. But that said, if he is able to show, that he's knocking the rust off and he's physically, without limits and you have the ability, and he was put in left field, I think, for the first time yesterday or the day before. He's been primarily playing center field. That's interesting. I think getting him comfortable in both of those spots gives you another added element for a possibility of him coming up. And Logan pulled the AAA schedule, September 15th. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at September call-ups for right when it starts. It's more about looking at when does the AAA season stop and even into the playoffs. Because at that point, once he has no more baseball to play somewhere else, he no longer can play consistently. I don't think they're going to bring him up here, and I don't think they should bring him up here unless they're going to play him on a consistent everyday basis. He's not coming up here to sit the bench. Like, that's not going to happen. At that point, you keep him where he is playing every day, and you keep Verdugo going out to left field. And right now, nothing is breaking down the door saying Verdugo has to go because he's on the good side right now. He's back in the circle temporarily of trust for a little bit. So you don't mess with that right now. You run that as long as you can. Maybe he continues that for the rest of the season. That's great. That means things are going well and you have options. And then Dominguez can come up later. But he's got to stay consistent with playing time. I think that's the biggest thing. And that's why when you're talking about a lane, I view that lane as consistent playing time. And if you don't have consistent playing time for him every day, or close to every day, then there's no reason for him because he's still in that developmental piece of it. That was why it was so disheartening watching him get hurt last year because we knew that he came up, had such success that I was excited for that kid to have a full off season after feeling that success and continue to develop and get that confidence. But unfortunately, he wasn't allowed to do that.
This whole year, I mean, think about developmentally, but between the recovery from surgery and then the oblique, like this whole year has been a throwaway.
But that's what I mean. Like having him, if he didn't have that Tommy John, if he was just, going off of the success that he had in the major leagues, had a full off season to get better at his game, get in shape, do all the things he needed to do, prepare for the season. Like that would have been developmentally appropriate for the kid. He had that taken away from him. So he doesn't have that. So they still need to think about his development as a young player playing baseball to get a sustained, successful major league career. And I think that's a big piece of it. You can't have him come up and sit.
That from that standpoint, I think that's fair enough. All right, we got to wrap it up here. I've got to run. The Yankees are playing the White Sox. They have a 28-91 record. That's not good. You gotta demolish this team this week. We will talk to you again after the White Sox series. Maybe we'll talk about if we were commissioner of baseball plans, because we might not want to talk about this White Sox series. We'll talk to you then.